Hello everyone, I am Rod and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Good evening, this is Mr. Flowers for those of you in my class. We're going to go over UV editing today, and I'm going to show you how to make this little box here. I know in class we're working on a vase, but before we start doing UVs on a more organic structure, I want to do something on what would be considered geometric. So geometric structures are just kind of like blocky things, right? These are a little bit easier to work with when you're just starting out for UVs. Now, just things to keep in mind, I'm in Maya 2011, you guys are in 2016, but for the most part it should be about the same. So I'm going to go ahead and nuke this guy. Bye-bye. I'm going to go ahead and drop in a new cube. The texture that we're going to be using is going to be in the Dropbox, so if you guys need it for the class, you can go ahead and grab it from there. Anybody else who happens to be on YouTube watching this, you are welcome to make the texture, but this is just on how to UV, so I'm not going to go over the full detail of making that particular texture. Alright, so I'm going to drop in a cube, and again that's create polyprimitives cube, and I'm going to go over to my channel here, channel box. Under shapes, inputs, I'm going to grab these three, and I just want to make this bigger. I don't like scaling, I like working off my base units for the initial model, so I'm going to just go ahead and put some 6s in there. I know, total evil. Alright, so here's our basic cube, and if we go to our UVs, remember you guys have a single UV tab, so I'm just going to click my UVs, and you guys will go to UV editor. My UV editor is way down here, yours is up top. And if you look, this is what we kind of start off with. Everything that you load, any of these primitives will come in with a basic UV layout. Now this one, we could use this, it's workable, but to teach you how to kind of get to here, I'm going to break all of this fancy gobbledygook. So what we're going to do is, under your UV tab, you're going to have an option for what's called automatic projection, or automatic mapping. This is only good for working on blocky things, or geometric kind of shapes. I wouldn't use it on spheres, and I wouldn't use it on cylinders. And I would certainly never ever use it on something organic like a person or a character or even the vase that we're working on in the class. I'm going to do an automatic projection, and what this is going to do is it's going to grab all the different sides of our object. So there are 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it gets it from front and back, left, right, top and bottom. And when it does that over here in our UV tab, you'll see that these guys are dropped in here. Now there are a lot of options for us to kind of mix and mingle and work with, but we'll get into some of these as we go. But if you look at our UV layout, this is kind of useless. We can't really map to this. I guess you could if you really wanted to, but we're going to make these clean and easy to work with. So the first thing you want to do is I'm going to jump over into UV mode, and actually real quick I'm going to go into face mode just so you can see. If I click on my object, here, let me grab these. If I click on my object, you guys in Maya 2016 could just hover your mouse over, and you should be able to see the UV panel highlight. So this is the top, and you would see this little grid over here kind of highlight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to UVs, and I'm going to go ahead and select one of these corners, and I'm going to right click, go down to selection, and then grab shell. And this will grab the UV shell for that object. So we just want to have the UVs for our top. And you should see in your window here, your perspective view, that the top 4 corners of your cube are selected. Remember that UVs are not vertices. These are 2D texture spaces. So whatever we manipulate out here should not manipulate the physical layout of the cube. It should only mess with the texture layout. So if you start pulling on these and you notice your cube is deforming, you're pulling on the wrong thing. Alright, so I'm just going to let this guy sit over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to go into edge mode. And I'm going to click on this particular edge. And the reason I'm going with this is I'm going to show you what I'm going to map to. So inside of Photoshop I have this lovely little texture that I put together for you. And this is just a wooden crate. So we have all of our panels. So this is our top. This is our back side, front, bottom, left and right. Okay. And what we're going to do is we want to map to these layouts. Later on, I'm going to show you how to unfold an organic structure and how to paint to those UVs directly, but we're going to do it this way for now. Instead of mapping and then painting, we are trying to just map this to that image. So assuming our top is the center, I'm going to go ahead and click on this edge here, and you'll see that this edge that is associated with it is also highlighted. So you should have two edges highlighted. One here on our top one, and one here on this panel. And that's actually running down the back length. So, alright. I'm going to right click, go down to polygons, and inside our polygons option, all the way down, on mine it's here, yours might be a little bit different spot, but it's move and sew UV edges. And what it's going to do is it's going to grab the shell over here and move it over here and attach them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now this panel and this one should be attached. So let's see, this one. Yep, so this face and this face are now attached. And I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to grab the bottom one now, and you should see it highlight over here. Again, right click, polygons, move and sew. So now I have the top, my front and back panels, and then I'm going to grab the left side of my object, polygons, move and sew, and that should snap over here. The right side, polygons, move and sew, and then the last one, polygons, move and sew. So now we have this cross shape. And if you look at this cross shape and we go down to our image file, we have this cross shape. So when we load this image in, all we have to do is line it up. So let's jump back in. I'm going to right click on my object, go to object mode, and I will drop in under rendering. I'm going to drop in a Lambert. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give this Lambert a name. I'm going to name it wooden crate. Go ahead and give it its name under color. I'm going to hit the checker box, and I'm going to grab a file. And then once I go to my file, if your file window doesn't pop up, because mine usually doesn't, but if yours doesn't pop up, I'm going to go over to where it says image name, this little manila folder. I'm going to open that. And I have, under my texture references, I have a wooden crate texture map. I'm going to go ahead and grab that and load it in. And you can see right away that, if you don't see your image, make sure that you hit 6 on the keyboard to turn on display texture, just in case. But you should see right away that this does not look like anything useful, right? Hardly even looks like a crate. This is why texture mapping is important. Learning how to line up your UVs is how you're going to display everything correctly so it looks like it should be, whatever it is. So this is going to be a crate. So you have to go back and adjust. So if I grab my crate, I'm going to right click on the keyboard, or sorry, not the keyboard, right click on the mouse, go to UV. And I'm just going to go ahead and select this entire layout. And what I'm going to do, we could sit here and try to hit the scale tool and scale this down and then move this over and try to line it up, which would work. You could do it this way. What I'm going to do is kind of let it work for me. I'm going to right click, go down to polygons, and there should be an option for layout. So right here, I'm going to hit layout. What that's going to do is it's going to scale this kind of automatically for me so that it fits to this to the grid here. I'm going to go ahead and move this. Hit the translation tool, I'm just going to move it over and center it up. And you can see it changing in the window here. They're lining up nice and neat. Alright, so you go ahead and check your object, make sure the things are lining up. If you see seams, and you will always find seams, like right here, this black seam, and this one down at the bottom, and that one. If you see those, what you can do is go into your texture right here, or on your UV panel, and don't be afraid to move these. So if I zoom in, you can see that my line from my UVs is not completely on the edge of the object. So I can grab these two. I can just kind of pull them over, and you can see it moving in the window here. So if I move this, you can see it shifting. Just kind of line those up. I'm going to get kind of picky. I'm going to move this here. That in the middle. And you do want your UVs to kind of line up straight. Like if I were to kind of tilt this, you'll see it kind of, you'll see it kind of teeter right here. You don't want that to happen. Remember, it's supposed to be a box, so it should be relatively straight. There's that. And there we go, get these last two. And that should, if I like go back to object mode, kind of click off, we should have a pretty consistent look for our box. Now there is this white line that you're seeing on my screen here, and all this is inside of Photoshop. When I did this map, I happen to have my UV grid on. Show you. I took a UV snapshot to line this up, and that's what all we're seeing here. So I'm going to turn that off and turn my panels back on. And I'll just resave this. And you don't have to follow this last step because this is just me updating in my window here. Oh, it would help if I save it as the proper format. Yeah. There we go. So now that I got rid of those little black lines, I'll have to go back and just fix, or sorry, get rid of the white lines. So I gotta go fix those little gaps. Quick look around. And you'll see little anomalies like right here. This board doesn't quite line up with that board. You can be pretty nitpicky if you want and kind of go through and make sure these all line up. You want it to get as close to the real thing as possible. So that way, when your character or your player in the game walks up to something, they don't break the illusion by seeing these texture seams. So we'll go ahead and get this back. It looks like what we'll actually have to do to save this, because this seam is physically or saved actually on the image. So what I'll have to do is I'll go back to the image file and just clean those up real quick. No, I must be turning the wrong one off. Scrolling back up. Okay. Resave that out. And there we go. That's better. Now, if you want to be more precise, you could make it so that this inside board here, as it meets up to here, isn't just cutting into, because it looks like this is like one solid board that has been kind of cut out, but then it's not solid. Then it's solid here, so that doesn't make sense. So you can kind of go through with the texture, and you can rotate these panels or whichever to kind of line all that stuff up, make it look more natural. And that's all stuff that you would do when you're doing your textures anyway. So, but our letters all line up right here, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that's just a basic look at how to map the UVs on a geometric shape. And the next tutorial will be on how to do it for the Voss and a more organic kind of style. Alright, I will see you guys in class. Have a good one.